How's it going, everybody? Brother Kimo here from Reload Hawaii. Thank you for watching another video. If it's your first time checking out my channel, please consider subscribing by clicking that subscribe button down at the bottom. And don't forget to click that little bell on the side so you can get notifications to when I post a new video. Tonight we're going to be talking about the differences in American whiskey, and I try my first bourbon. Yeah, so let's get into the different types of American whiskey we got going on. But before that, let me pour myself a dram of this Woodford stuff here. One moment while I get this ready for us. Ooh, yeah. The pour. Oh, yes, that looks fantastic. Let's see how it does on the nose. Ooh, that smells fantastic. Not a lot of alcoholic burn in there. What is this here? It says here it's 45.2%, so not bad. Oh, again, the only smell that I can pull out of it is the oak barrel that it was aged in. But let me give it a quick taste. Oh, that's nice too. Well, enough about that. I'll do an individual review on this a little bit later. Let's get into talking about whiskey. The first thing I want to talk about is Uska Bertha, an old Gaelic term meaning water of life. That's where we got the word whiskey from. So the very first part, the Uska, got shortened into Uski, then eventually whiskey, the water of life. Alright, let's have a look at the spelling of the word whiskey. If you're from a country that has an E in it, then it's going to be spelled with an E. If you're not, then it's probably going to be spelled without it, like Japan or Canada. Now, the actual placement of the E in whiskey can be tracked all the way back to Ireland when they first started producing whiskey. It was going smooth, right? It wasn't there before until a new technology in producing whiskey appeared. So the traditional pot still, which is still being used in Ireland and in certain places in the United States, kind of drew competition with the new version of what it was called a column still. So they found that very inferior, and in order to differentiate themselves between the two, they said, look, if you OGs want to get the old pot still stuff, look for the E. And that's how it's basically a marketing thing that they put in there to show how they were different from the column still, which ended up in Scotland, which doesn't have an E in it. All right, let's talk about the differences between Tennessee whiskey, bourbon, and rye. Let's concentrate on these two first because they're pretty similar. In fact, when you go down this list here, the only difference is the charcoal filtration process, which Jack Daniel does. Basically, they take these maple wood ricks, they hose it down with their 140 proof low wine, and they burn it down so there's no impurities. They grind it down to a consistent basis and they filter it. It takes about a day for it to get down to the bottom. But if you look at everything else, it's the same. Has to be at least 51% corn. They have to be aged in charred oak barrels. They can't be distilled above 160 proof when going into the barrel. It cannot be above 125 proof. And again, no additives, no flavoring, no color. They can add water to distill it down to whatever percentage they want so that it tastes good. But they're pretty much similar, these two. So mash bill wise, most of the time when you look at it, a Tennessee whiskey is going to meet the requirements of being a bourbon, but because of the charcoal filtration process, it's not considered a bourbon. It's a straight Tennessee whiskey versus a straight bourbon. All right, moving to the last column right here is going to be rye, and it's going to be the same thing except for the content of rye. So most of these have corn, barley, and rye, but with rye, of course, the majority has to be 51% rye. Everything else is the same. It still has to be aged in a charred oak barrel. 160 proof, can't go above that. 125 going into the barrel. And of course, you can't add any coloring or flavoring to it. So pretty much these are all the same thing. It's just that the requirement of the major component is either corn or rye. Now that the stage is set and we know what each individual whiskey is mostly made of, this can help us decide what we like and what we don't like. For example, I've never had a rye, so I don't know if I'm going to like 51% or higher rye. I have no idea. If I don't, I'm probably going to stay away from rye. And on this section here, maybe as I keep getting more experienced with drinking whiskey, I'll discover that, hey, this charcoal filtration just mellows out the whiskey too much and I don't like it. Then I'll probably stay away from Tennessee whiskey because they all have to have charcoal filtration. Now, some whiskey producers are going to have their mash bills or their recipes for how they divide the certain grains available online, and that can help you really fine tune what you really like. And you're, of course, going to gravitate toward the recipes you like and stay away from the ones you don't like. My personal prediction is I think I'm going to be right down this alley right here with bourbon. Now, Pappy, which I drank first, right, is not a normal bourbon. It's a wheated bourbon. So normally in this category, you're going to go corn, barley, then rye. Wheated bourbons take out that rye and replace it with wheat. It's supposed to be smoother and sweeter. That may be the reason I like Pappy. Now, Buffalo Trace, the guys that are producing Pappy right now, have other variations like the Weller's 12, still hard to find. But you also have other wheated bourbons like Larceny, it's supposed to be pretty good. And you got Maker's Mark, again another wheated bourbon. I can't wait to taste that. And because Pappy is so hard to find, I enjoyed it so much. I can't wait to see how these guys hold up against Pappy. And here we have it, all of the U.S. whiskeys that I care about at least. Tennessee whiskey, bourbon, and rye. And of course, that little subcategory called wheated bourbon that I cannot wait to try. So guys, keep an eye out for my Woodford Reserve review. That's going to be happening probably sometime this next week. But that's it. If you liked it, share this video as much as possible. Give me the thumbs up, smash that thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And as always, I'll catch you guys later.